It's close. Breaking news now from the UN. We expect President Obama to arrive any minute now. He will today have a private meeting with Vladimir Putin at the United Nations. Putin, meanwhile, giving his full support to Syria's president and taunting the U.S. for its failure to stop ISIS. He did that right before his meeting with our president. Listen.
We support the legitimate government of Syria. And it's my deep belief that any actions to the contrary in order to destroy the legitimate government will create a situation which you can witness now in the other countries of the region or in other regions, for instance in Libya, where all the state institutions are disintegrated.
Reaction now from Kentucky Senator and presidential candidate Senator Rand Paul in studio. Good morning to you. Big day in our city, and I don't know what's going to come of this meeting later today, but what do you think's going on here?
You know, I think the most important thing is that we do talk with our adversaries. And so I'm all for engagement, and you have to have discussion. We had this, in the presidential debate recently where Carly Fiorina said, oh, no, I'll never talk to Putin. Well, Reagan talked to Gorbachev. I think it's important to keep dialogue open. And actually, believe it or not, while Russia's done a lot of bad things, there is the potential that they could help with ISIS.
Maybe the discussion should have happened before today, because all the reports out of Washington is that the administration doesn't know what Putin is up to, and they're hoping for clarification here in New York.
Well, discussion 2 years ago when Assad was more precarious, I think there could have been discussion, and maybe we could have seen Assad go to Russia and seen some sort of ceasefire. But still, Russia has a long presence in Syria and has a great deal of influence there. So does Iran, so does Iraq. They all seem to be on the same page now. I think really there does need to be a discussion of all those who have some influence in the region to try to say, what do we do to stop ISIS, but what do we do to try to get Syria away from becoming a failed state where it's just a haven for terrorists?
Pick up a newspaper today, and now you read the headline that Putin has cut a deal with Iraq and Iran, and they're going to go after ISIS, apparently. We're flying missions to take out ISIS. Is he filling a vacuum that we should have taken care of already?
Well, I think the thing is it's going to be complicated to get rid of ISIS. And ISIS has a lot of enemies, and that's good. Iraq is an enemy. The Baghdad government's an enemy. Iran is an enemy. And so is Syria. But Syria hasn't been able to do much. And we have not been willing to help Assad, and I understand that. I think we shouldn't give arms or weapons to Assad, but Russia doesn't have that same compunction. And we've been actually fighting against Assad and supplying the arms that have gone against Assad. So the first thing I would have done is, a year or two ago, I wouldn't have been supplying arms that ultimately wound up in the hands of ISIS. I think we made ISIS stronger inadvertently by supplying so many weapons into that civil war.
We're going to see how this goes today at that meeting here in New York. I want to talk quickly about Congress. John Boehner stunned everybody on Friday, as you know. What do you think is happening on the House side with regard to Republicans in Congress and the pushback they're receiving from people in their own party?
I travel across the country, and conservatives are unhappy. We got Republicans elected in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, and nothing's changing. It's kind of the same as we've always had. I'm one who's also frustrated, and what I've said is we should exert the power of the purse. Many are saying, oh, it takes 60 votes and we can't get to 60 votes to defund anything. It's actually the opposite. If we let all the funding expire and then you restart it, it would take 60 votes to actually pass something, and then a lot of bad programs would fall by the wayside, including Planned Parenthood. But we would have to have the guts to stand up and say, enough's enough. It's from now on going to require 60 votes to pass any spending.
Do you think someone like John Boehner had the guts?
I think that there wasn't enough evidence that they were willing to stand up. They seemed to preemptively announce, we're defeated, we can't do anything, and the grassroots is frustrated with that. The grassroots says, oh, why do we elect you then if you're not going to actually stand up and take some risks?
Well, I mean, because they're saying you're not defending our principles. Mitch McConnell now in the Senate, do you support him as leader still?
What I would say is that I support the position we have to use the power of the purse, and I use every bit of my arguing power to say we should put the appropriation bills forward, all 12 of them, one at a time, and make the Democrats filibuster. If they're willing to filibuster and government shuts down, we should then say it is Democrats who have shut down the government. But if we don't put forward the bills, what's going to happen is a continuing resolution, and I'm steadfastly opposed to a continuing resolution because it continues all the bad spending and the debt.
I get your position on that, but again, Mitch McConnell, you support him or not? Yes, sir.
There isn't really a battle or an election going on for any other choices. There aren't. There is no other choice in the Senate for leadership.
So you are behind him for now unless someone else emerges?
Well, there is no election. There is no battle going on. What I support is the position that we should take the power of the purse and we should actually use it. So I will oppose Senator McConnell when he brings forward the continuing resolution. But it isn't about opposing a person. It's about a position, and it's about us using the power of the purse. And I will do everything to say, you know what, not one penny goes to Planned Parenthood.
New polling is out. Quickly on this. Trump's at 21, Ben Carson at 20. You're down the list somewhat considerably. I think he said over the weekend it's time for you to drop out.
You know, he makes me laugh, but I don't think I really want, you know, a clown for president. And so I think ultimately this is resorting itself. The numbers are changing, and I think what you're going to find is that this is very early. We've now organized 350 college campuses. We have 1,000 kids going to caucus for us in Iowa. We have great strength that is yet to be tested, and it'll be next spring before we know where everything shakes out.
So you're going nowhere, right?
We're going all the way.
Do you have the money to stay in?
Yep, we're in it to win it. We're organizing in all 50 states.
Thank you, Senator. Rand Paul here in the studio. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
In person. You bet.